Hi everybody, so this is my episode recap of the new Fionna and Cake episode. Oh, it was a really cool, nice episode. Oh, it was really interesting. Like, it opens with Marsha Lee with Hannah Abadir, I think that's her name, and she's raising Marsha Lee, and you see her in her office, and she's trying to work, but then he's like, I want to do this, and she's like, no, 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 no. And then he was making music, and then she kicks him out, and he goes to the park, and he has some money, he gets some ice cream, but he meets, well, Ice Queen, but she's not Ice Queen. I don't know what name they give her for her new world, and she's making music with these cats, and then she became friends with Marshall, kind of like how Simon and Marceline became friends. But it's really sweet. He gets ice cream, it spills on him, and then she spills it on her, and then they're having fun. I think that's sweet. Now then, as for Fionna, she's crashing at Cake's new apartment, and she was trying to sleep in a drawer, and Huntress Wizard is there, and she's trying to find the heart of forest, but they have breakfast and Pop-Tarts, and they're trying to figure this out, and we're like, we need to go to the heart of the forest. Well, I don't know what that is, but we could go to the oldest tree in the town, and there's the oldest tree, and it's basically Fionna and Cake's old treehouse, which is Finn and Jake's, like the main Adventure Time house, but in tree form. So they go there. She's like, oh, we're not allowed to cut anything out, and she cuts her own hand off. It's like, whoa, and she does the iconic scream like, ah! And that's really funny. She did that a few times. So she cuts her hand and she tries to plant it to get an idea. But Kate gets a bunch of texts about Gary and Marshall. And Gary is trying to bake. And Gary was like, hey, why don't we go to my parents' house and you get to meet my parents? I was like, okay. Because there was also a part where like they were baking together and Gary was doing that no, kind of like what the mom does. But she's like, oh, sorry. But then they go to Fionna each time and they're like, I'm nervous about meeting the parents. I'm nervous my parents meeting him and this. But then they're like, it's all good. Just be nice. And I was like, thank you. And then Gary takes Marshall to meet his parents, and their parents are really nice and sweet and really small. And Gary has a sister named Natalie, which is supposed to be this version's Nettie, so that's really funny, and she's like on the computer and stuff. And Marshall plays music because, well, before they actually showed Gary like as a kid baking stuff, which is pretty cute, and then they showed Marshall singing that song that the Ice Queen was singing, which is nice. It was a really sweet song, and I think they were gonna have dinner. But Fionna, like, she tries to meet DJ Flame for an idea for some business things, and they go to a record recording thing. He's helping this kid, and it's like, oh, he's good with kids, which is a nice scene. But Cake is like going to get text. She's getting text for MCOR, and she's like, oh, I gotta go somewhere. But then Huntress Wizard hears a noise and she tries to connect to the tree and even goes in, but then Cake follows her or gets dragged along with this, and she becomes like a sock puppet on her hand, which is really funny. And they travel to different timelines where it's like the original Fionna world, but then it turns back into normal world because of what happened to Ice King. And there's one part where it's like Fionna and Cake, but then it switches to like the apartment, and then there's a backstory with Marshall Lee as a little boy, but then it goes back to like the Fionna world where it changes and it's like him as a little kid, but with his mom, and she's being really strict. And then there was another timeline. Well, before it showed like Cake was rescuing a butterfly from a spider, which is nice. Then it shows 1,000 years into the future, and remember the whole baby Finn where he's in that town full of webs with butterfly wings? Apparently they show that in the future, and because it's revealed that baby Finn doesn't age, and he's fighting evil spider moss, and they're like, what happened to this place? And he's like, there was like an uprising with evil moss, and apparently it was Cake's fault because she rescued that butterfly. Yeah, that's why it's called the butterfly in the river. Yeah, not moss, butterfly. So But the reason why it's called the river, because they go down this river to another timeline. But one timeline is where Hannah Abadir is calling Fifi, and it's Fionna. And Fiona's working with Hannah Abadir, and she's like, oh no, this isn't good. Like, and then they go to the river, down the river. They go to the timeline. They get out of the tree, and she's not a sock puppet anymore, and everything's normal. And she regenerated into something new, like she got a power up or something. But later, Fionna was walking down, and another thing I want to point out, when there is a Jay and Little Destiny cameo, but is Little Destiny a dude now? Like, before she was a woman, but in this picture she looks like a guy now. Or did she got a makeover? Or I wonder what's that gonna be about. We'll discover about that later. But anyways, so Fionna is being followed by a dog, and it's that guy who keeps following them, and she works for Abadir. And then Fionna was like, hey, who are you? What are you working for? And she follows her, and then Fionna took advice from DJ Flames, like, you have to do whatever you can. And now she's gonna get a job for Hannah Abadir, and that timeline's gonna come true. Oh no, because she needs the money, and there was a scene where Queenie was about to tear down the sweet spot. It was like, no, can't do this. We almost have money. We thought we had till Sunday. I was like, yeah, but I hate you. I was like, you can't tear down a place due to personal gripe. I was like, people need parking. And she was like, we'll double the money. I was like, okay, 70K. I was like, okay, we'll get it there by then. So Fionna is now gonna work with Hannah Abadir for a job and tries to get money for it. Oh boy, I wonder how Marshall's gonna feel about this. But yeah, there's a scene where Marshall and Gary are talking, and they were like, when you talk to me like that, you remind me of my mom. It's like, ooh, I won't do that to you. That was nice that they figured that out. But now Fiona's gonna work with Abadir. I wonder, yeah, how Marshall's gonna feel about that. But anyways, we'll have to wait and see. Also, there was another scene where, because if you remember in the last episode, Simon got that demonic witching eye, and they went to the thing called Wishy, and she was like, I wish Finn was okay. I was like, okay. But they give Finn glasses, like goofy glasses, and they're like, oh, come on. And then Finn started to turn wrinkly and old, or he's really starting to die, and they're like, oh no. And Simon's like, Wishy. So yeah, I wonder how they're gonna figure all this out. Like, what's gonna happen to Finn? How is Huntress Wizard gonna help him? How is he gonna travel to the other world? Well, how is that all gonna connect where Fiona's gonna work with Hannah Abadir? So, well, we'll have to wait until the next episode. I'm very excited. Can't believe we have to wait weeks for each episode. There is a side of me that kind of misses this, because if we watch it in one day, and then, because with other streaming shows, we watch it in one day, but it is good to savor this. But I don't know, I kind of would like to, because maybe I've been used to watching hour-long shows, because I've been watching the CW Flash with my mom, and that show's like 44 minutes and like an hour, so we've been watching that. That actually does take its time, but here there are like half an hour episodes, and every time it ends I'm like, well, what's gonna happen? I want to know what happens in the next episode. So we'll have to wait and see. How's Finn gonna get all right? How's Huntress Wizard gonna go to the next, back to Finn World? So we'll have to wait and see. Oh boy. And Fionna, she's gonna work with Abadir. Oh boy. Well, we'll have to wait and see. What did you thought of this episode? I thought it was really nice, and there's a lot of things that are gonna happen. It was pretty funny. What do you all think? And see you next time.